Well, good morning, everybody. Saturday morning here in the UK. I don't know where everybody is in the world this morning, but we are delighted to welcome Louis Parsons to our creativity Saturday morning. As a kid, you may remember being playful on a Saturday morning on TV. We're going to be playful on Zoom this morning, which is great. What Louis promises is a crash course in creativity for the next 90 minutes or so. So that is fantastic. He's talking about using our imagination and creativity to discover who we really are. So that's a fantastic promise. And he's also said, we don't need any creative bones. He's also said that we just need the ability to worry. So this is going to be interesting, isn't it? Because I know that I'm a good worrier. I'm sure all of us have worry within us. So how are we going to use that worry for creativity? Just to say a little bit about Louis, he uses the power of art to inspire people and organizations to co-create a world of deeper harmony and success. And this seems to be a really new and unique field to take, you know, for Louis to take his gifts and his talents into organizations and to inspire people to be creative, to create better organizations, to create more success. So he's worked with people like Microsoft. He also works with individuals, and he's worked with, as you know, the orphans in Zambia as he's traveled the world exploring creativity. So we're doing this personal quest. We're doing it together, which amplifies it. And Louis, just before you speak, I don't know whether you realize, but there was a program on BBC last year, the Twinstitute, maybe somebody's seen that. And these twin doctors did research with twins. And one of the weeks they explored staying younger and brain health. And they put one of the twins on a nutrition program for 6 weeks with great nutrition for the brain. And they put another twin on a creativity program, art, ceramics, treasure hunt games. And at the end of that, the people who had had the nutrition change for 6 weeks, no change. That's just in 6 weeks. But the creativity, the average change was a 5 to 7 year change in youngness of the brain. And one woman was 10 years younger in her brain from doing that art and program. So not only are we going to have this inner quest, it's potentially there for us to be younger. So thank you so much for that, Louis, and over to you.
Thank you so much, Gina. That's such a warm, wonderful introduction. And just to back up that field of research, I'm actually 120 years old. So I know I don't look a day over 47. So actually, I always forget how old I am. Anyway, so it's fantastic to have everyone here. It really is. It's so good to connect with you all. And a quick kind of show of hands. Anyone here good at worrying? Who's good at worrying? Yeah, fantastic. Awesome. Great. Everybody, it seems, is good at worrying. So what does this mean? That you know, if you're good at worrying, you're good at creativity? Well, worry is actually a form of creativity. When you actually look at what happens when we worry, you have a picture in your mind of something that hasn't happened yet. It hasn't happened yet. You pour your energy into that image and you're creating a result, often a physiological result. It creates pent-up feelings, which then become pent-up physiological outcomes, often stuff we don't feel like we want. Now, an artist does almost the same thing. They have a picture in their mind of something that hasn't been created yet. They're pouring their energy into that, and they're externalizing that feeling. That feeling comes out somewhere, onto a canvas, onto paper, into writing, poetry, music, whatever it is. And it feels good. It's expressed. It's cathartic. It comes out onto the page. So the truth of the matter is, if you are worrying, you are creating. All I'm going to do today is take you through a very simple step-by-step process that anyone can do without an artistic bone in their body, although you might find one or two by the end of the process. It's amazing to me what the quality of the artwork that comes out of this, but it's not about the quality of the artwork. It's actually about using your creativity, your imagination to find out what's in there, to find out what's going on. And so the title for the session, we started with creating space for you? Why creating space for you? Well, as you can imagine, since March last year, we've all been needing more space, and it's been interesting. I had to suddenly move from doing face-to-face workshops, as Gina mentioned, with places like Microsoft and Google. The other thing I was doing, I was the Four Seasons guest artist for the Serengeti. So I was traveling out to the Serengeti, meeting people, creating what I would call a soulscape for them, and then coming back to England. So all of my work got removed, totally removed. I've got a young family. I've got an 8-year-old, 11-year-old, and a 20-year-old girl who I really shouldn't, but adult girl staying with us. So a lot of pressure, and actually to be able to do the very same process of soulscaping with people across the globe via this actually wonderful technology where it works has been extraordinary. It's been one of the most significant turning points in my life, actually. I'm so proud and thrilled of what's happened through being able to hear and see people's soulscaping journeys as we work together. And so to bring us home to ourselves just a little more, to help us get a little more centered, a little more in touch with why we're here. Every soulscaping practice starts with a period of reflection. I bring up a piece of art. Often it's one that I've created as a touchstone, as a point, as a portal, as a mirror, whatever you would like to call it. But what I would like for us to do to begin our session together is just to give 60 seconds of your dedicated, silent, wonderful attention to this work of art. And I mean those things, silent and dedicated and wonderful. Your attention is powerful. Billions are spent every single day to get you to pay attention to something, to someone, to a like, to social media, to a political agenda, to get you to buy something. And it's rare we take that same power of attention and place it on ourselves. So if you would just do me the honor of and yourself the honor of placing your wonderful attention on this artwork, 60 seconds in as much silence as we can possibly muster in our collective spaces. And what you might find is it might bring up a feeling, a memory, it might bring up an experience of some kind. So 60 seconds starting from now. Okay, thank you for that. So I'd invite you just to maybe write down what your first response was to this image. It's great if you can handwrite it. Sometimes our hands seem to know more than our minds do. Such a powerful thing to do, to journal our experiences. And whilst you're doing that, it'd be fantastic to hear from someone who's willing to share what their experience was as they looked at the artwork. So if anyone's got something they really would like to share or feel, when we share, it's great to share as though we're sharing on behalf of the whole group. So there might be something that really landed for you. If you could just raise your physical hand.
Louis, can you see people with your screen share?
I can, yeah.
Okay, great.
I can see some people.
Okay.
So has anyone got something they'd like to share? Elizabeth Carney, thank you.
Hello. The more I looked at it, the more images came out of the picture. And it was, I got words like, I see this huge decorated elephant coming through on the right-hand side, but there's also a door and a portal and steps. And the more I looked, there's people, and I kept getting the word the ancestors are there in the light. Wow. Beckoning you, but it's so like coming out from under the water out into the light as well. There's a lot of power and energy and real strength in here. That's what was coming through to me.
Okay, that's extraordinary. Thank you, Elizabeth. Have you had the time to write some of those things down? Because there's so much in what you just shared.
Yes, I have.
That's fantastic. Okay, great. Thank you. I'll come back to that thought in a minute. Could we hear from another person? If you could raise your hand. Dave.
Just on mute first. Yeah, it's strange what Elizabeth said, because I got this feeling of walking into, or possibly walking out of, a different world. I got the sort of, I've looked at this picture with you before, and I got the idea of being in a canyon type of idea with a waves breaking around what looks like a person in the middle there, with the sunlight, the backlight, but also the cracked painting. I'm not quite sure what that was to me, but I could see it there. But definitely this idea of somebody walking. I originally looked at walking into, so they're walking away from you, but then I looked at it again, and I'm actually not sure, maybe they're walking towards you. Right. The waves definitely coming towards me as well, I felt. So definitely had a weird theme, and then like the sunlight coming through, you know, whether it's other people or God, or just generally light coming through.
Yeah, thank you, Dave. So something of walking in between worlds, and light, with the question of, is this toward or away from? That's great. And what's fascinating as well, second time you've looked at it and you see something completely different. So we'll come back to that shortly. Thank you. And Elizabeth, if we could hear from you.
Hi, I saw cleansing, healing, light. I see release and new beginnings, and being contained and held.
Wow. That's extraordinary. Beautiful. Thank you so much. Wow. So, okay, let's just zoom out for a moment. You asked for 60 seconds just to look at this piece in silence. And then we've heard three very different perspectives on the same image. So what could this possibly mean? And the curious thing with art and the artist is everyone kind of generally is waiting for the artist to share what the real meaning is, but I don't do that. I'm genuinely fascinated by what it is people share in my artwork. They see, you know, and you see in some ways way more than I see in them. And it's kind of like one of those songs that I think that are put out into the ether and everyone makes their own, and they're totally different from what the artist intended. But by you bringing your attention to them, you complete a painting. And actually what just happened and what you wrote down says way more about you than it does about the artwork itself. So you either wrote something down or you shared something that's important to you, that's valuable to you, that's challenging you, that motivates you, that you want more of, maybe something you want less of. And this is the power of your imagination and your attention. That's just 60 seconds looking at a painting. I call this the Soulscape imaginal practice. It's a deceptively simple practice that hones your attention and your imagination. And you know what? You can do it with anything. You can do it with any artwork. You can do it with the lines that are in the palm of your hand. You can do it with a leaf that's falling in the garden. You know, there's so much richness lying around us, right in front of our faces the whole time. Richness and abundance. And just by looking, stopping and looking, we go from looking to seeing. You're a treasure trove of preciousness. And, you know, the more you look, the more you see, as Dave just shared. And then as that shared, well, the more I looked, I saw an ancestral elephant, but then the ancestors, that there was more in there for her the more she looked. And so the gift of attention and imagination is that we can also bring that attention to ourselves in a different way. And when I created the artwork, what's fascinating, Elizabeth, is you mentioned new beginnings. So what's beautiful is when, for me as an artist, when someone says something that's similar to what I intended, that the painting is actually called the realization of a new beginning. And I created it where I was at a time between worlds. I was caught at a threshold. It was a hard time. And actually, I remember looking at partially completed painting on the floor, not knowing where to go, not knowing what to do. I suddenly looked at it and I knew what to do. This painting had been lying on the floor for 18 months. I put it on my easel. I finished it in 30 minutes. I put it on Facebook and something strange happened. It sold before it dried, and then 10 limited edition prints of it sold. And it completely reversed the situation just by me sitting and looking and watching. And it felt like the birthing of something new. So my question to you is, as a gateway, as a portal, as a way in for us to explore what your first soulscape could look like, when do you feel truly alive? When do you feel truly alive? Because that was a moment of aliveness for me. It was a turning point. It was a tough one, but I felt alive as it happened. We can feel alive in the midst of challenge. We can feel alive in the midst of pain and despair even. But there's probably something you do that you love to do that often your body lets you know you should be doing more of. And I call that your aliveness. So for me, when I go surfing, I feel alive. I haven't been able to do it for a little while, but I feel like I'm surfing the edge of chaos and I'm somehow bringing meaning out of this moment, and I feel extraordinary. I feel like something beyond me is coming through me. I love surfing. I love painting. I could talk about the day I met my wife. I could talk about the day my son was born. I could talk about a sunset. I could talk about a moment in nature. All of those things make me feel alive. You probably have a moment when you feel truly alive. You could probably have several moments. But what I would like you to do is just consider now a moment when you feel truly alive. And I'm just going to do this slightly weird thing. I'm just going to look into the camera and I want to have a little nod from you when you go, yeah, I've got a moment when I feel truly alive that I can work with. Yeah, Jackie's got one, Lydia's got one, Judy's got one, Elizabeth's got one, Frida's got one. Fantastic. Some of us take a little longer to find them than others. That's fine. That's great. Yeah, Cora's got one. Yeah, Techie's got one. Andrea, fantastic. All right, great. Just like creating, what we're about to do, it's impossible to do it wrong. The beauty with contemplation, which I would say this is almost a contemplative path rather than a meditative one, is that you can't do it wrong. Your imagination will feel like it's making itself up. It's amazing. I actually think the imagination is soul. I think the imagination is soul. It's something bigger and wider. And especially when we do this collectively, magic happens. So just be open to what happens as we do this very short, guided, imaginal practice together. It lasts for about 4 minutes. I'm going to ask you to sit nice and upright in your chair, whatever you're sitting on, your seated position. Just become aware of having a nice straight back, and nice relaxed shoulders. And when you breathe, just breathe a little more fully. Just allow your breath to deepen fully into your lungs, and you'll be oxygenating that brain that's getting even younger just by doing this process together. Although for a couple of people, it looks like they'd be 8 years old if they got any younger. They look fantastic. So just nice deep breaths. And what that does is it lets your body know for the next 4 minutes, everything is okay. Your parasympathetic system adjusts. The nice straight spine means we stay alert. This is a poise, a position, a posture of relaxed alertness. And so put yourself into this moment when you feel truly alive. I'm going to re-articulate this moment in the first person and present tense, because that's really the most powerful way to imagine and to use your imagination, as though it's happening right now. So putting yourself into this moment when you feel truly alive. Consider, where are you? What are you doing? Who are you with? What can you see, hear, taste, touch, and smell? Just really take that moment in fully through all of your senses. Just let it suffuse your being with light. How did this moment of aliveness really make you feel inside? Just gently bringing that wonderful attention of yours to that sense of aliveness inside you. Direct your attention inwards. There might be a particular place in your body where you feel this aliveness. It might be around your heart area, your gut area. It may be somewhere else. What words would you use to describe this feeling of aliveness inside you? It might feel like freedom or inspiration or something else. What words would you use? And as you place attention on it, it flourishes and it grows and it becomes even more real. So much so that everything that's happening around you and outside of you for the moment becomes transparent like glass. You can see right through it. So that all that remains now is this feeling of aliveness that has expanded and grown to the point that you can see colors that best describe it. Not describing the outside, describing the interior of your experience. What colors do you see that best describe this feeling of aliveness inside you? There might be one color, might be two colors, might be several colors. What colors do you notice? Just notice, what are the colors doing? Are they moving? Are they still? Are Are they dancing, expanding, contracting, exploding, turning? And what's something from nature that best describes the quality or pattern of this aliveness? You might just intuitively know that it feels like flowing water, or it might feel like utter stillness, like walking into a deep lake, or it might feel like fire, like a dance of flame. It might feel like awe-inspiring, like looking up at the night sky. It might feel like something completely different, and your imagination, just something drops in out of nowhere that utterly surprises you, that best describes this feeling of aliveness inside you. Just gently touching into the colors, the words, and the thing from nature that describes it, gently holding on to those as we open our eyes and come back into the room together. Fantastic. Everyone looks so happy and serene and relaxed. So if you would just take a moment to write down what your experience was, just popping up these questions to help just as a guide. What were you feeling? What words you might use to describe that feeling? What colors you might use to describe it? And what's something from nature you might use to describe it? And by the way, if you didn't see anything then, like the interior journey is just one way of doing it. It's actually handwriting it is another way of creating and articulating. By every single word you're using, you're embodying the energy. It's an act of creativity. You're putting a body to the energies that you've just imagined. So, Gina, I'm going to ask that we put everyone in breakout rooms of 2, please. And the aim of this is twofold. One, you get to hear someone else's moment of aliveness. It's like standing on sacred ground with them. Use the power of your attention to enable that person to flourish. Listen with full intent. Listen to everything they are saying and what they are not saying. Listen with your whole being, because they're about to share something genuinely awesome. And Gina will let us know when we're 3 minutes in. We're going to have 4 minutes per person to share. Around 3 minutes in, you're going to be told, well, yeah, you've got a minute left before you swap. Then we'll let you know when it's time to swap roles. The other person will then be able to share what their moment is. And if they get stuck at all, you might just want to ask them a couple of questions. Some of us are vocal. Some of us are extroverted. This is the moment when you'll see colors and see things that you didn't see before. Introverts, you already know. You've already seen them, and actually it's just a gentle act of sharing. So this enables you to access this aliveness from different angles. So once you've both shared, you'll say a minute left before you come back out of the breakout rooms. We'll all come back together and we'll take things from there. Fantastic, everyone's coming back in. That's great. Lots of smiles, lots of happy, energized people. Isn't it extraordinary hearing someone else's moment of aliveness? And then actually to be able to share it with someone too, I think it's just such an honor, really. I'm intrigued, did anyone have the experience that when someone else shared their moment of aliveness, it's almost like you could relive it with them? Like you could, right, yeah, lots of nods. Yeah. Isn't that incredible that we have that capacity too? So that's a heart-centered capacity of compassion. It's why I believe that the imagination is almost certainly located in our hearts, because we can actually see through someone else's eyes. We can re-experience what someone else is experiencing. And so there's an image I try and use to describe it. Have I got that here? Yes, I have got that here. Where the more we do this practice together, it's like we're extending mycelial connections, both root systems together. Like it's like we have these individual roots of imagination and belief, and the more we do this, or whatever practice you have to do this, those roots deepen until they connect with something beyond us. And then there's points where these root systems overlap. And I think that was a moment where you were able to empathically see each other's moment of aliveness. Now, the really cool thing is creating together is like the branches start to join up too. This is how worlds are formed, right? We create a grounding, and we create an atmosphere together. A collective and creative field gets generated. It's like when we meditate together. I don't know if you had an experience when you meditate or pray in a group. The collective power of that is extraordinary. And creating together actually also massively amplifies that field of creativity. So we're now going to do a beautiful crash course in creating. I know some of you are just like, Louis, let's just get on and paint. This is all wonderful contemplative stuff. But without doing that grounding, it just feels like playing with paint. Nothing wrong with playing with paint. So, but with the intention and the energy that you've just excavated by your Soulscape Imaginal practice, we're now going to start to put paper and paint, or whatever materials you've got, whether that's pen and paper, anything you've got to hand is great. You don't need to know a load of techniques. In fact, the less techniques the better. And in fact, if you are an artist on this call, this might be an opportunity to kind of free up and break out of any ruts you feel you're stuck in. Often artists tell me that's what they get from soulscaping. So crash course, whilst simultaneously sharing with you some tenets of creating whilst soulscaping. So here we go. I've got a cloth, and I'm going to put some paint on this cloth. It's really, really technical, this. There we go. There's the paint. Here's my bit of paper. Are you ready? Paying attention? Very technical. All I'm going to do is whack it on. Boom. There you go. I've got no idea what I'm doing. I'm totally unattached from the end result, but I'm having a lot of fun doing it. And that is pretty much all you need to be able to do. If you can do that, that's it. You can create. If I'm going to put paint on there too, a different color, I'm putting a different color paint onto the cloth. If you don't have a cloth, fingers are awesome. 10 intelligent, sensing, awesome things to paint with. This means you're getting serious if you're getting in with your fingers. It's awesome. It's playful. It will blow the lid off your creativity, painting with your fingers. So there you go. There's a bit more paint. No idea what I'm doing. Now, you might have other materials. That's great. That's all a bonus as far as I'm concerned. If you don't, equally fine. Brush, great for blending. Wide brush. You'll notice I don't have one of those little fine brushes, because what we are not doing is this little kind of way of describing something on the outside. We're doing this free form way of expressing something on the inside. We're bringing our imagination back to that interior experience the whole time. So the first tenet of creating is this. You are going to probably put a big fat blob of red paint where you meant to put a big fat blob of green paint. Oh no, oh no. Now it's impossible for you to make a mistake. Impossible. Why? because what you're about to create has never been created before in the history of mankind. That means you can't compare it to anything. You can't compete over who's got the best one. You can't mark it out of 10. It's insane that we got marked out of 10 at school for art. What are they doing? You can't measure beauty or love. You can't measure creativity, right? So just blow the lid off that. But this will happen, right? You'll put a big fat blob of paint in the wrong place or something like that. That's not a mistake. That is a happy accident. And it's extraordinary. It's an invitation to go in a direction that you didn't expect to go. It's like one of those good conversations that set you off in a different direction. So there you go. That's my happy accident. I'm going to work with it. And my final thing I might have is a palette knife or fingers or something like that. You can scratch back into it and do really cool stuff like that. That is it. That is all you need to do. So it's impossible for you to make a mistake. Welcome the happy accidents. Stay true to that inner image inside, which is a good tenet to life anyway, and just staying open, because that little mindset, that judging little character that is going to keep trying to rationalize everything, just say, yeah, thank you, but not right now, and just keep painting. Right, we're going to paint together for 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes. I'm just going to tune in as we're doing it, and there'll be a time where it'll feel like we're all just going to bring our threads together again. So just pay attention to that little voice inside that lets you know when this is done. Okay, there we go. Let's paint 10, 15 minutes. I'm going to change my camera so you can see what I'm up to and try and not get myself and everything I own covered in paint at the same time. Time to start just tuning into that little voice inside. I can see that some people are bringing their artwork to a close. This is the fascinating thing with soulscaping, is we start to, after we do it, especially once or twice or 3 times, you'll start to feel like you're either going to create quite quickly and immediately and spontaneously, which is fantastic. Some of us, we feel like we want to get a little more detailed, and so we can, at the end of a session, we can start filling in that detail. Sometimes some of us want to do, and so, you know, we start to find out what we want to do, but only by jumping in and giving it a go together. So just give me a little show of hands if you feel like you're pretty much there, you're pretty much finished. Okay, so we got, oh wow, okay, lots of people, awesome. All right, that's great. So feel free to carry on painting for a little bit if you want to do a little more in the background whilst I check in with a few other people. It's a good time to start cleaning up your hands. This little voice inside that lets you know when the painting is done is really interesting. More than really interesting. It has all the intelligence and information and wisdom you need to know whether a painting's underworked or overworked. And if you haven't painted for a long time, there can be a tendency to want to overwork something. So to that, I'd like to say, remember, there are plenty more canvases in the world. Okay, you don't have to do 5 paintings in one. And to others of us, sometimes we just, it's almost like you get to a point where you're pushing a rock up a hill and it suddenly feels like, oh, I just got it there. It's such a delicate thing to try and tune into when you know you're done. And sometimes you just have to go, you know what, I'm done with this one. That's fine. It's the fulcrum of the creative process. We're crystallizing, you know, this whole cycle, this whole creative cycle. Just show you something to that effect very quickly. So there's this little character, top right hand corner here, which, you know, this journey through the branches and the roots together. We once we were doing our imaginal practice, we were nurturing these aspects of ourselves. We then wrote it down and we start to bring the fruit to the tree, and then you shared it. This whole process of relating makes it real, and then by sharing, creating it, it's like it's an act of crystallization. And you'd think that's the whole of the creative process, but actually there's something else we're going to do, which to me is one of my favorite parts of soulscaping, especially in a group like this. But before we do that, I'd love to just check in with one or two of you without sharing your actual artwork. Okay, it's really important. I don't want you to share your artwork just at the moment. We're going to do that in a very specific way. But if anyone would like to share, what was the experience like for you of creating this way? Challenging, exciting, anything. If you put your hand up, Catherine, thank you.
Hi, I found it absolutely liberating, really childlike. I've not done anything like this before, and I am creative, but I'm not an artist. And so, yeah, to get my hands dirty, and then the old me reared up. Oh God, I've got to go and wash my hands.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I put the first colour on and then had to go and wash my hands. But then by the second or third, I was okay. So yeah, liberating. Yeah, don't do messy very often.
No, that's great. You look like you're in a beautiful house and beautifully dressed. It's like, I can just imagine it all getting covered in paint. That would be fantastic.
The chandeliers behind me, as you can see.
With paint on, I hope.
Not something I do.
No, thank you, Catherine. So that's great. So Catherine said playful. And I think this is one of the things that this process does. It's I think there's two things the world really, really needs right now is we access a whole load of energies which are locked up in that inner child, that inner playful being that we somehow separated from ourselves when we were, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think sometimes even goes back earlier. There's so much in there, whether it's play, whether it's creativity, whether it's art, whether it's poetry, that we've just written off as not really relevant, and yet look at the world we're in. We desperately need these energies to be unearthed and brought back in. And I think that's related to feminine energy, right? A healthy release of feminine energy. The world needs a whole dose of healthy masculine energy too, and I'll speak to that at the end of this. So but this process seems to do that for people, so thank you. Could I hear from someone else? What was this like creating this way? Jackie White, thank you.
Complete joy. I absolutely loved it.
Great, that's superb. Joy, yes, the expression of our inner worlds brings joy. That's fantastic. Great. So I'm really pleased. No, that's fine. And so so this is a really great part of the process, because some of you might be looking at your artwork and going, well, I really enjoyed the process, but what I've created is totally different to what I expected it to be. Some of you might be going, you know what, actually, I really quite like what I've created. And others might be going, what? What's happened? Well, so to either one of those responses, I want to say welcome to the artist's journey. Okay, welcome to the artist's journey, because there is always going to be a gap between what we see on the inside and what we create on the outside. And it's actually living with the gap and knowing that the gap has all the energy and information and wisdom you need. If you're willing to keep pursuing that gap, you become more whole and able to play with those energies and learn new techniques. That's why I don't teach any techniques at the outset. I want you to become familiar with what's happening inside. That rational brain just starts to hijack the process otherwise. So that said, you will have transmitted something of your energy and emotion into this painting. And so we're going to do a short reflective practice in triads. So we're actually going to do another breakout room where we're going to be in groups of 3. And what artists, especially, well, any creator actually, tends to not always reveal their artwork. So we're going to hold the space in a very, very special way, okay? In the breakout rooms of 3, introduce yourself to each other and say hello, very briefly, and then one of you will hold up your artwork to the camera like this, and the other 2 are going to do this. They're going to say, what I love about your artwork is, okay? Did you hear the words there? It's a sentence completion. What I love about your artwork is, and stop and drop in and be in tune with what you're about to share. Okay, because this is like a little gentle flowering of a new creative moment. And if you can really support and mutually encourage this moment, something beautiful and extraordinary happens. But if you say, oh, is it a dog? Then you've totally truncated the moment. Okay, we've all had that moment at school. I had that moment at school. I did this little picture. I went up to the teacher. The teacher said, well done, Lewis. That's a brilliant camel. Went back with my picture with the spider that I just painted and quietly decided never to paint again. And thankfully, I've healed my own wounds and here we are. So this is the real reason I do this, is just so no one has that experience. Right, so once you've heard 2 people in that room say, what I love about your artwork, or what I experience in your artwork is, then you get to say, well, this is what the artwork's about. So they get to hear what your moment and what your artwork's about. And this is the most important bit. Afterwards, you give that artist a round of applause, okay? Because you've been courageous, you've been vulnerable, and it's great to be seen and heard and held this way. Okay, so it'll be, let's see, it'll be about 3 minutes per artist to do this. So it's quite punchy, be in tune. And then we'll let you know when it's time for the next artist to begin. And then after the 3 artists have gone, we'll all come back into the room together, all given the wondrous beauties of technology. And we'll see what happened.
I'm missing somebody. I don't know. Somebody keep dropping off. So we're going to have 12 groups of 3. You'll be in a group. You come out, and I'll go in. And we've got a 9-minute total. And should we let people manage their time? And I'll give them a 60-second warning to come back after 8 minutes.
I think if we could let people know 3 minutes in, it's time for the next artist. And then if we could let people know 6 minutes in, it's time for the next artist. Because I know that you can really get lost in one painting, and it would be great for everyone to be seen. So that would be fantastic.
Right.
You said what I love about the artist, or what I experienced from your artwork is, and then you asked the artist themselves to do this.
To just share what the actual painting was about. Okay. So you'll hear from 2 other people, and don't forget the round of applause. The round of applause is completely essential. So what I experienced is, thank you very much. Here's what the painting's about. Oh my gosh, that's incredible. Round of applause for you. Next artist. Okay, thanks for clarifying that, Dave, because I bet a lot of people were wondering that.
Okay, I think we're okay here. Louis, you're in room 10, which you won't go to. So there's 2 people in room 10, and you may get a 3rd because we lost someone and somebody came in. So here we go. Contact me if you have a problem. Open all rooms. Okay, stop the time, 3 minutes. This is where I pause the recording.
Fantastic. Okay. So I wonder how that was for everyone. And this is it's one of my things. I would absolutely love to hear every single moment of aliveness and see every single artwork. But what I would like us to do, and I'm actually going to extend to you an invitation at the end of this, which might make that possible. But what I would love to do is for us to consider the journey today and consider where we've come from. We looked at that work of art. You learned about the imagination and the power of attention. That you flourish things into being just by giving attention to them. You then wrote your own response to that work. You then focused on a time when you felt truly alive. You then created a piece of art inspired by that after writing it down and sharing it and hearing about it from someone else. So there might have been an insight in any one of these moments. You painted something and then you shared that. And sometimes people will share like a nugget, a piece of gold. We need each other to see these different aspects of ourselves, right? We've got blind spots, and sometimes people will say, oh gosh, that is so, and part of you lights up, right? It's like a mutual sharing of unique possibility. So it's a dense amount of information and wisdom and knowledge to have in a 1.5 hour period of time. What I would like you to do is just write down what you would say your key insight has been from all of this today. And I appreciate we might run over by about 5 minutes. I really hope that is okay for everyone. It might even be 7 or 8 minutes. If you do need to go, please feel free. You don't need to stay on, but it would be wonderful for you to be able to stay for the next few minutes. So what is your key insight? Your key insight. It might be something about creativity. It might be about you. Not necessarily what am I going to do. It might be a way you're going to be. And if anyone's got one they're ready to share, I'd love to see a little hand up or a big hand up. Debbie King, it'd be great to hear your insight. Thank you.
I learned just to let go and just love it and enjoy it and just be in the moment and free myself and not worry about what it looks like and just enjoy the moment. It was very letting go. I've loved it today. Thank you so much, Louis. I've really enjoyed the whole experience and with my breakouts as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. Fantastic. So letting go, that's a big one. That's a big one. Thank you so much. Let's hear from someone else. Geraldine.
I know. I want to say thank you because it has been being in lockdown for such a long time. You forget about this whole aspect of being playful. And what you gave me today was playfulness. And I think the idea of playfulness and painting and also, and that was important. And also I'm a word person. So this was taking me to a different place where I didn't need to have perfection. And I didn't have to dwell, was this the right word, the right color, the right paint, there was no right. You could be anything at all. And for me, that was a great gift. So I thank you. I thank the people that I was in Breakout with in both cases. Really helpful. And so, playfulness. What a wonderful thing to do. Wow.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Geraldine. Thank you. Lots of nods for that one. That's great. And so just so sometimes we forget there was a world even before language, and language and words are beautiful, but I love that you access that place beyond words. One more person, Cheryl.
Wow, thank you. So grateful, I can't tell you. Just biggest word was freedom and release for me. Nothing, we're in very difficult times at the minute and the freedom seems to have disappeared, but just lifted the depression to total happiness this morning of knowing I was coming on the Zoom. I can't explain it. I've had through, I'm the only one left out of a family now. I've had a lot of deaths, nothing to do with COVID. My parents and my 2 younger sisters. And I've been pretty deep with a lot of stuff. And this is just completely released. I can't thank you enough. My creativity and my passion and juices of art. I just can't believe it. And I want to thank, honestly, I'm actually shaking, vibrating with the light, because I got hooked up with Jackie and the lovely, where's she gone? Judy. So I shared with them because it was quite an intimate experience for me. And I just want to thank you so much.
Wow.
All of us being freedom of being playful, going back to the chart, doing whatever we need to do in so many different ways. So I just want to thank you so much. And I'm very proud. I've started using paint again. I had nothing in the house. I managed to find it. That's beautiful. Within 10 minutes of coming on. So thank you.
Well, I tell you what, thank you so much, Cheryl. I love that this has unlocked that in you. And really, although, yes, I hold the space for this, it's just so much about the light that's in you. And what this does is just reveal what's inside you. Thank you so much. And actually, would everyone just do what Cheryl has just done? Because I'm going to get a very quick mosaic image of, if you hold your artwork up to the screen for about 5 seconds. This is like one of those slightly awkward family photos where everyone has to keep still just for a minute. That's it. Fantastic. That looks stunning. Right. So I wish you could see what I could see, and I'll send these photos on to Gina. Now, thank you, everyone. I would love to hear everyone's key insight. And actually, there is now a way that you can do this. It was born 2 weeks ago. It's one of the things I'm proudest of ever. This is the World Soul Mosaic. If the background image is a work of art that I created expressing, well, what is the world? It's compiled of our unique moments of aliveness. And I would love you to be part of the Soul Mosaic. What that would mean is, if you look closely at this picture, there's around 3,000 or so people, all including their tile, their piece of the puzzle, their unique self that's joined together through creativity and making this world a better place. And so if you would email your artwork, well, actually, there's now a collective. It's called the Soulscaping Collective. And it's where you can post your artwork. See it as a clean, pure version of Facebook. No data harvesting, all around one central purpose, which is to mutually enliven each other through the power of creativity and through soulscaping. If you would post your artwork there, I'll personally comment on it. You can share what your moment was behind that. There's a group of like-minded, like-souled creators on there. Guys, Kevin and Dave, I'm the only guy on there, okay? You've got to join me, please. You absolutely have to join me. So please be in there. We need healthy masculine energy in there too. If you do that, I will invite you to our next Soulscaping session for free, which is on May the 26th. It's called Engaging Your Unique Way of Being, and we'll re-soulscape together. It's normally £35 every session, but I would love you to join the first one so you can get a feel for what the community is about. You get the free membership as well. And there's also a deeper course coming up in May called Realizing Your Original Self. It's my signature course. It's a smaller group. We really get to explore one another's, what is it to be original, and explore that path of aliveness. All those details are on Louis Parsons, and you can drop me an email if you want to know any more at louis@louisparsons.com. Look at louisparsons.com itself. The collective is at soulscaping.co, and I'll send you a personal invitation to everyone who's joined this session today for you to join that. It takes a minute to sign up to that, and you'll be instantly part of the collective. And I'm finding a way to build this soul mosaic as more and more people add to it. It's like every person who joins and every person who adds to that conversation, we extend these mycelial connections out into the world beyond us, and we transform in each other. And as you can tell, I'm excited, and I'm saying a lot about it, but I just would love to have you all as part of that. So thank you all so much for this morning. It's been one of my favorite sessions ever. Thank you, Gina, for doing such a great job of hosting, and thank you, Conscious Cafe, for having me.
You're so welcome. I'm just going to... Well, let's do an applause. Louis.
Great.
Absolutely. We're all lit up. We really are. It's just wonderful, and lovely that you've got these things that people can dive into as a next phase. I don't think anybody's going to leave it just here. I think we're all going to find our way to express our creativity. I even thought this morning, and I've got a little space at the top of my house that I built as a yoga studio, and I do the yoga downstairs, and I thought, what shall I use it for? And of course, I'm going to get an artist's canvas and I'm going to use it as an art room. It's just fantastic. I'm going to ask Judy just to speak for a minute to say about what's coming up. We've got where are you, Judy? You still there? Judy? Have we got Judy?
Yeah, just unmuting. Well, coming up soon. Oh, well, actually, I just want to say, Louis, it's been amazing, amazing. And thank you for raising all our spirits in a very tricky time of life.
Sorry, I muted you. Judy, I muted you. Sorry, I muted you, Judy. I was going to pin you. Sorry. Unmute yourself.
So, thank you once more, Louis. It's been amazing and really lifted our energy and lifted our spirits. And we will send all of you the recording, and we will send you the details of Louis' next course. But it might not be until Tuesday or Wednesday. That's because at Conscious Cafe, we don't work every day. So don't worry if you don't get it. If you haven't had it by Friday, then definitely get on the email to us. But you will have definitely had it by then. So coming up next is another event with Jessica Adams. If I tell you that we had more than 450 people register for Jessica Adams' last event, that gives you an idea of her popularity. She is a psychic astrologer, a very beautiful spiritual lady who is also very well known for her astrological predictions, and she will give us some indication of what we have to expect in the future. And 2 weeks after that event, she is offering an opportunity for all of you who have animals and love animals to bring your animals to a session. Have a look on our website, www.consciouscafe.org. She will be giving a paw reading, P-A-W reading, and have a look on the website and you'll find out more about it. And then we haven't put it on the website yet, but toward the end of April at a lunchtime event, you get to hear from me because I'm publishing a book about how I grew my publishing company. So it's of interest to entrepreneurs and people who'd like to know more about how the world of mind, body and spirit has expanded over the last 30 years. And as we've got Zohar with us, we will be doing an event with Zohar on image work in June. And we've got Cora with us, who runs our Canterbury group, and Cora offers a weekly discussion group every Friday. We've got Debbie, who runs our Geneva group, and Debbie offers events in Geneva. We've got Gina, who runs our Skipton group and also offers weekly events on Friday. And Bryony is hoping to launch a Conscious Cafe group in Portsmouth and Southsea. So please look at the groups page on our website. We have so much going on and you don't need to be lonely. So we'd love to see you all again, and thank you for coming today. Huge thank you to Gina, who is an amazing host, and Louis, You're unforgettable. Sending you lots of love.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
You know, people have expressed a lot of love in the in here, which is wonderful. We'll have the chat. But Judy, can people go perhaps on the Conscious Cafe page and just share how much they enjoyed it? Always nice for other people to see how enjoyable these sessions have been, because I think Louis is going to capture people's pictures on your Soulscaping. But if people want to make comments about how much they enjoyed it, would that be the most appropriate place?
Yeah, we'd love that. We'd love to take art to the masses so we can all become more creative. So do share how amazing this experience has been. Thank you. So I've put in the chat box, we're on Facebook and we're on Twitter at Conscious_Cafe. And if anybody wants to drop us a line to tell us which new social media you are going to engage with in the future, because there's so many new ones, we'd love to get some feedback. So thank you for that.
Hey, Louis, thank you. Fantastic. Thanks, Judy.
Thank you.
For everybody's coming to us on this Saturday morning, starting our new creative futures. More creative.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Great to
Thank
see
you.
you.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Lots of love.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Recording, stop recording.